Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Meeting the Heart Problem. The wonderful, delightful aromas of rosemary, crispy peanuts, and rich maple syrup filled the air as office worker Theo Mason went through his little local market. He never tended to go through, so it was impressive to see all the little wooden stalls, sensational pastries and treasures on them, with their elderly stall owners behind them wanting to make a little extra cash, and Theo actually rather liked it. It was only 10 o'clock on the perfectly comfortable November morning, not too cold nor warm, and he was meant to go in later to work today anyway, because his offices were going through a deep clean after a minor chemical mishap last night. But Theo really enjoyed going down a little alley with stalls lining either side of him. He particularly liked the little stalls to his right with all the different types of sparkly jewelry, like earrings, necklaces, and a very beautiful pink diamond ring. It was definitely fake, but it was nice to look at. Theo had never really been the sort of gay that was overly into feminine things like jewelry, but the pieces on display here were rather tempting. It was just a shame that Theo had to get to work sooner rather than later so he could prepare for a massive presentation with a bunch of very rich investors. But all Theo really wanted to do was look at the pretty stalls. Even the little wooden stalls to his left weren't that bad with their sensational-looking pastries, baked goods, and breads that lined them. They really helped to create such a delicious smell that formed the taste of Danish pastries form on his tongue. He was definitely going to have to grab a bunch of them for himself and the office crew, especially given how well every single one of those amazing people had worked to make tonight happen. Since Theo was an office worker for a major international insurance startup that was looking for overseas contacts, so the insurance company could easily expand into European in addition to the UK and the Republic of Ireland markets. And Theo really hoped that this meeting went off without a hitch, because if Theo managed to get the money for the company, then he had been promised 2 job promotions, a paid vacation to Paris, the location of the new office building, and an increase in salary by £20,000. That's how important it was. Theo continued to slowly go down the little alley of stalls with all their amazing, breathtaking jewelry and pastries and baked goods. It was great to see so many people here in the market, considering the local council was considering shutting it down for good. But as Theo looked around, smiled at the group of young mothers with their thick black coats, a group of young teenage couples that probably should have been at school with their cold fingers wrapped around each other, and a group of pensioners with their walking frames out and about, Theo just realized that this market really was the heart of the local community. Theo glided over to a largish wooden stall with a pretty young woman with black hair standing behind an impressive array of creamy, sweet, delicious-looking Danish pastries. So Theo ordered 20 of them for the men and women of the office because they were definitely all going to need them after today. And Theo listened to the quiet talking and muttering and laughing of everyone around him. Sure, the outskirts of Canterbury, in the southeast of England, might not have been the natural location of an insurance company outside of London, but it was home and Theo loved it. Canterbury had heart, love, and a lot of amazing people. Granted, Theo would have preferred someone to show him a little sad because Theo was 25, freshly out of university and working at an insurance company that was also owned by your brother's wife's dad didn't exactly lead to a lot of free time. And the really weird thing about Canterbury was that it might have been a student city, filled with hot, sexy young people that were great fun for a night or two before everyone disappeared from each other's lives on Monday morning. But it was next to impossible to find someone to have a relationship with. That was what Theo would have loved to have, but he just knew that today wasn't going to be the day he was going to meet the love of his life. Sadly, the young woman gave Theo his order. He paid in cash and wished her a good day. Then Theo continued down the little alley of market stalls and tried to focus as much as he could on the presentation and meeting he had to give today, and try not to focus on the sheer lack of his love life at the moment. Something he really wished he could change. Joseph Bell absolutely loved the sensational Canterbury market. He had gone here most weekends when he was studying for his undergraduate degree in accounting, and now he was studying for his master's. He loved the entire market even more. There was just something so peaceful, loving, and flat-out brilliant about being surrounded by little stalls of people working to make a little extra cash by offering people such amazing goods. Joseph simply stood at the end of the little alley of wooden stalls, like he always did when he first arrived. He just liked to watch for a few moments to see the sort of things that were on offer, and most importantly, to see who was about today. There were plenty of regulars that Joseph was so glad to see again. He had already spoken to the wonderful Ms. Margit, and it was great to hear that her cat was feeling better. Her feet were all healed now, after her dropping tins of cat food on them, and her garden had been repaired after the mole incident. Even the air smelt wonderful today, with stunning aromas of rosemary, peanuts, and maple syrup. That was exactly why Joseph loved the market so much, because it was always such a great gift to the senses, and whenever Joseph was down, all he needed to do was come down here to experience the sheer joy of this place. Joseph really hoped, and basically doubted, that the local council would ever shut down the market, because it was too important. It was too vital to the community to be shut down. Joseph knew of at least 5 regulars that probably wouldn't leave the house if it wasn't for the market, so Joseph was hoping beyond hope that it wouldn't happen. And to be honest, Joseph seriously doubted it would, because the community hated the council's idea anyway, and the local elections were approaching, so the councilors would be gone soon anyway. Joseph slowly edged himself past a very cute young couple who were clearly university-aged, and they were whispering about the jewelry, and Joseph couldn't disagree. There were so many fabulous pieces that he would love to dress up in. It was just a shame that after his last boyfriend had dumped him and gotten him into jewelry in the first place, Joseph had let his piercings heal themselves. Joseph hadn't put in earrings for ages because he wasn't sure if he actually liked the jewelry or if he was just trying to please his ex. But as Joseph looked at the bright pink, purple, and rose gold jewelry prices, Joseph quickly realized that he was definitely into girly things, and those pieces of jewelry would definitely look fabulous on him, and Joseph had been wanted to look hotter lately, and there was nothing a little bit of jewelry couldn't fix. Joseph was about to glide past the young couple when he noticed someone brand new walking down the little alley with a massive white bag of something. Joseph had never seen him before, so he stepped to one side and wow, seriously wow. Joseph's heart beated faster. Sweat dripped off his hands despite the coldness of the morning. His eyes widened. The man walking gently past all the other people was stunning, with his long brown overcoat that made him look for distinctive, posh, and definitely like he had money. Joseph really loved the man's brown hair that was parted to one side, and that only seemed to frame his handsome face perfectly, only amplifying his natural attraction. And Joseph seriously loved the man's smooth, manly face with his very slight brown hair. This man was definitely beautiful, sexy, and very hot. So hot that Joseph's wayward flared to life as well. Joseph was about to walk over to the hottie when he felt something strange inside his chest. It was strange because his heart had been beating faster anyway because of the hottie. But now his heart was beating a lot faster. Joseph grabbed his chest and his chest tightened. Theo was almost at the end of the little, amazing alley of the market, and Theo couldn't help but be pleased with himself. He was going to be the favorite of the office when they were all done presenting, got their money, and feasted on their pastries like the victors they would be. Then he heard something hiss a little, and Theo looked straight ahead to see what was going on. Theo's entire world stopped, as he saw an utterly handsome and sexy man standing at the end of the alley. He was divine, with his longish blonde hair that was perfectly straight, his amazingly fit little body that didn't look to have a shred of fat on it, and the man had the most gorgeous face Theo had ever seen. He was perfect. Theo quickly noticed that the man was clutching his chest, and no one else had noticed. His granddad had done the same before he had a cardiac arrest and died. Theo went over to the man and grabbed him. He couldn't allow someone else to die like that. Tightness of chest? Theo asked. The man nodded, and Theo took him over to the end of the alley and sat him down on the floor. Then Theo dialed 999. "I need an ambulance at Canterbury Market South entrance. Suspected heart attack," Theo said. Then the silly 999 operator, a man, started giving Theo the basic talk about what to do, but he already knew it. After his granddad died, his entire family had learnt what to do in the event of a heart attack. If his grandmother had known that knowledge sooner, then his grandfather might have been alive still. But Theo didn't blame anyone. He still hung up on the operator. "You think I'm having a heart attack," the man said. Theo didn't like the hints of fear and concern in his voice. The man was too beautiful and sexy and hot to be scared. Theo had to be confident and reassure that the hot man would be okay. It was all he could do until the ambulance arrived. "Yes," Theo said. "It's why we're sitting on the floor. It places less strain on the heart, and it means you won't hurt yourself if you collapse." Theo so badly wanted to hug the hot man as fear flashed across his face. "I'm sorry, that was a stupid thing to say," Theo said. "I'm Theo." The hot man smiled before he bit his lip in pain. "I'm Joseph." Theo smiled. That was such a hot name, and it really did roll off the tongue so easily, and wow, Theo was finding this man hotter by the second. "You're going to be okay," Theo said. "Tell me about yourself." Joseph laughed. "You really want me to be okay, don't you? And you really want me to focus on not having a heart attack?" Damn it. This man was hot, clever, and could clearly see through everything that Theo tried to pull on him. "Thanks," Joseph said. "I'm a master's student studying accounting at Kent University, gay and currently single." Theo just laughed. He loved it, how even with this hot man facing a possible death, he was trying to see if Theo was available and into men. "Me too," Theo said, "but I think you're going off topic." Joseph shrugged before hissing in pain. "I don't know. If I'm going to die, I would at least like a kiss." Theo wanted to so badly, as the sound of sirens and heavy footsteps running over sliced through the romantic atmosphere between them. The paramedics, two females, started talking and treating and doing things to Joseph. Theo's vision just blurred. He just couldn't watch the next part. He didn't want to see beautiful, sexy Joseph rushed off to hospital away from him. "Come with me," Joseph said. Theo didn't respond. He just watched as the paramedic got Joseph up onto a stretcher and started to wheel him away to the ambulance. Theo couldn't remember if Joseph had looked at him, blown him a kiss or anything. Theo just didn't want to focus on the beautiful man having a possible heart attack. He didn't even want the memories of his grandfather to return. Theo wanted to stand at the end of the alley of little stalls a little longer, but his phone buzzed in his pocket. He knew it was the office, but he didn't answer it. All Theo wanted to do was go to the hospital and see Joseph and make sure that nothing happened to him. But Theo didn't want to get too attached, just in case the unthinkable happened. Joseph was hot, clever, and really funny, but Theo had done his part. He had gotten Joseph help when no one else even noticed what was going on. And Theo had to get to the office. He had a major presentation to do, and his entire future depended on that meeting going perfectly. The next few hours had been simply awful for Theo as he stood in the massive conference room that he was normally so confident in. Normally Theo loved the massive glass windows that made the entire oval room be engulfed in bright light. But today, Theo didn't like it. He didn't like the windows, the massive oval desk, and he seriously didn't like being here instead of being at the hospital. The amazing smell of peanut cookies filled the conference room because Emery, a beautiful redhead, had baked them especially for the meeting. They smelt wonderful and tasted even better, but still Theo couldn't focus. The 6 men and women in their black business suits that Theo had worked with constantly over the past month to make today happen sat around the desk weakly smiling at him. Theo had screwed up all 10 of his attempts to give the meeting and presentation and take mock questions that everyone knew all the investors would be asking, but Theo just couldn't focus in the slightest. All Theo wanted to do was run to the hospital, make sure that beautiful, clever, and outrageously funny man was okay and well. Theo just wanted to look at his delightful face, smile, and body. Theo just needed Joseph, and at least get the chance to know him a little better. Emery stood up, her little redhead body looking fierce and fiery, but her green eyes were gentle. "What's wrong, boss?" she asked. Theo wanted to lie to them all and make up some story, but then he noticed that everyone was looking at him, not like they were angry or concerned about their own careers, but they were actually concerned about him. So Theo told them exactly what happened that morning. Emery nodded like she had experienced and heard this all before, which was very possible considering she was 20 years older than Theo. "And you really like this man?" Emery asked as everyone else leant closer. Theo didn't want to sound silly by automatically agreeing with her. He had only met the man a few hours ago, but even in that short time Theo had gotten laughs, smiles, and the wanting of a kiss from him. Even now, as Theo just thought about it, his stomach was filling with butterflies. All the tension in his body about the meeting was running away, and he felt so happy. "I do," Theo said. Everyone else in the conference room nodded, smiled, and looked at each other like they were communicating in some sort of top-secret language that Theo didn't speak. Then all the other workers looked at Emery and nodded. "Right then," Emery said. "You need to go to the hospital. There's only one nearby that this Joseph boy could have been sent to. I'll drive, and the others can deal with the meeting." Emery came over to him and started pushing Theo towards the door, but Theo stopped dead in his tracks. "But the meeting, the presentation, our careers?" Theo asked. Everyone laughed. "Your happiness is a bit more important than a meeting, and if we screw up the meeting, then you get to stay here. We don't want to lose you to Paris," Emery said. Clearly, Theo's friends knew a lot more than he did about what would happen if the insurance company did expand into Europe, but it seemed they really liked him, and Theo seriously loved them all. So as Emery kept pushing Theo out of the conference room and down the long corridor towards the lift, Theo's stomach filled with even more butterflies because he just had to know if the man he was starting to fall in love with was okay. And that seriously excited Theo a lot more than he ever wanted to admit. Joseph had absolutely no clue whatsoever what the doctors, nurses, and very cute male orderly, or whatever his title was, had done to him, but he was so happy that they had done something. Joseph currently sat in a rather cold, little wooden chair that all hospitals seemed to order en masse, looking out of a little window overlooking a massive green field just beyond the hospital car park. The hospital certainly smelt a lot better than he expected. Joseph had never really been in too many hospitals, but they had always smelt so clinical, cold, and deadly to Joseph. Thankfully, Joseph could only smell the lovely hints of jasmine, lavender, and thyme in the air. Joseph wasn't exactly a fan of the wooden chair, but it was the only one he was allowed to sit on, and he wasn't even allowed to go too far away from his hospital bed that was only a few meters behind him. Joseph had already met some wonderful people, including a very sweet elderly woman who was on the same ward and in the bed next to him because she was recovering from her hip replacement. She had some fascinating stories to tell, and Joseph was looking forward to hearing more from her. If there were more people like her in the same ward and in the other beds in his area, then this was going to be an amazing stay at hospital, but there was still one man that Joseph really wanted to see again. When the paramedics had been rolling him away, Joseph just knew that that sexy, cute, gorgeous man Theo hadn't been concentrating. He had looked so cute and haunted by what was happening, and it wouldn't have surprised Joseph if Theo had experienced this before. Joseph had said, needed Theo to come to the hospital with him, but he clearly didn't hear or didn't care enough. Joseph really wanted to get to know Theo more because he was clearly such a kind man. He had tried to keep him calm and focused during the heart attack. Joseph didn't know many people who would have done that. And now Joseph was stuck in a hospital all alone. Joseph had tried to call his mom and dad because they were in Canterbury today, but he couldn't get through to them, so he had left a voicemail. They constantly rang him normally, but the one time Joseph needed them to answer, they didn't. And that just felt awful. A gentle, manly hand grabbed Joseph's shoulders, and he instantly knew it was Theo. He didn't know how, he just knew it. "I was wondering when you would come," Joseph said. He heard Theo's wonderful laugh behind him, and then a moment later, he stepped into view. Theo looked just as perfect now as he did earlier. He was so stunning with his overcoat, trousers, and amazingly fit body that Joseph really wanted to touch. "I didn't know if I was coming myself," Joseph said, "but my work friends want to sabotage a work meeting, and they thought my love life would be a perfect excuse." Joseph just smiled. They really did sound like wonderful friends. Love life. Theo's beautiful face blushed. "Damn you." Joseph shrugged. "I had a heart attack, my brain is fine." "So you want to add me to your love life?" Joseph loved watching Theo standing there like a deer in headlights. It looked like Theo didn't know whether to stay or run, but after a moment he pulled over another wooden chair and sat next to Joseph. "If you want," Theo said. Joseph shrugged again. "Well, I am currently single. I am trying to look hotter, and I guess meeting you was convenient." Theo playfully hit him over the head and laughed, and Joseph laughed too, so much so he pressed his forehead against Theo's. "Joseph!" a woman shouted. Joseph carefully stood up at the sound of his mother's voice, and he smiled as his mother, in her very long black dress, ran towards him and bear hugged him. "We got here as soon as we could," his mother said. "Thank you," Joseph said, kissing his mother, "but where's Dad?" His mother kissed him again. "I don't know. We saw a woman outside called Emery, and your father started talking to her." "And I'm glad I did," Joseph's dad said. Even now he was insanely tall and wearing a blue business suit like he had just come from a meeting. "I'm Emery," a redhead said as she shook Joseph's hand. "I was meant to have a meeting with Emery's company, but I had to cancel," Joseph's father said. Joseph hugged Theo and looked at his parents. "Actually, this is the man who saved my life and got me to hospital." Joseph's mother grabbed Theo and hugged him so tight Joseph thought Theo's eyes were about to pop now. After 10 very long seconds, his mother released Theo, and then his dad did the same. "And you were the man we were meant to hear a presentation from," Joseph's father said. "Well, I say, old chap, I don't want to hear it. Your company can have the money for saving my son's life." Joseph looked at Theo and looked so adorable with his mouth dropped open. "Come along now, Joey," his mother said. "The doctors have completed the tests, and they got me to sign the release forms as we came in. You can come home for dinner tonight and bring Emery and Theo too." "Oh no, I couldn't," Theo said. "Oh nonsense. We need our boy to have a boyfriend, sooner or later. He has his cousin's wedding next Saturday, he needs a plus one." Joseph just laughed and hugged Theo as he half laughed and cried in Joseph's shoulder, but Joseph really knew that their meet cute might have been a little crazy, but it had been amazing, wonderful, and Joseph just sort of had a feeling everything was going to work out for at least a good few months, but probably a lot longer. And Joseph didn't have a single problem with that whatsoever. As Theo supported a very tired Joseph into Joseph's bedroom that Theo basically knew off by heart because of the past week, from the massive desk and bookcase to the left small single bed they had shared every night since meeting, and the obstacle course of clothes on the floor, Theo just couldn't believe how wonderful the past week and a bit had been. They had spent a ton of time together, They had laughed so much that Theo was surprised his jaw hadn't broken, and whenever he was around Joseph, he just felt so happy. And for the first time ever, Theo knew that he was in love. They had spoken about so many topics, issues, and things that Theo never normally spoke to hot men about, but Joseph was happy to talk deeply so early. Being around Joseph felt so right, natural, and comfortable that Theo just knew, really truly knew that he had found his soulmate. And even the wedding spirits seemed to agree tonight, as Theo had caught the wedding bouquet, and Joseph hadn't looked scared at all, but they had both laughed about it later on. Marriage definitely wasn't on the cards for ages, but love definitely was. So as Theo placed a very cute and adorable and tired Joseph onto their bed, Theo just admired his beautiful boyfriend that was half asleep and sparkled slightly in the limited light because of the jewelry that Theo had gifted him. Joseph looked absolutely stunning with some rose gold earrings with pretty pink diamonds in, a pink necklace, and even a little bit of foundation on his face. Of course, Theo had repeatedly told Joseph that he didn't need any of it because he was perfect just the way he was, but Joseph had wanted to do it because it was him, and it was how he wanted to express himself. And Theo had no problem with that whatsoever. It was what he loved about being gay, out and a part of an amazing community, because people really could be whoever they wanted. So as Theo stripped off Joseph, put him to bed and crawled in next to him, Theo just smiled and cuddled up to his sensational boyfriend because this was love, and Theo was going to treasure every single moment of it, and he knew that Joseph was going to do the same exact thing.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.